Hello. Welcome to Everyday Experts. I'm your host, Sir Joker, the Joker. I'm the Joker commiss today. Mr. Joker, Mr. Achilles. You can call me whichever, thing you like. I have a very interesting fellow on my show today. Very accomplished. Makes me feel like I need to go back to school to catch up. He is a licensed mental health counselor. He has specialities in suicidality. He has specialities in working with adolescents and older adolescents and young adults. He used to work with couples. He tried to stay away from it, and I don't blame him because, couples can be daunting. He has his own private practice called Alchemy Counseling, and we will get into the foundations and roots of alchemy. He is currently, like I said, making me look bad. Besides that, he's currently working on his NP in psychiatric nursing. He wants to be a nurse practitioner. This man is just working while the rest of us are sleeping. He's working. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring to the stage the man, the myth, motherfucking Marc Davis.
Hey, how are you doing,
sir.
Achilles?
Hello. Welcome. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. I was just jamming to that intro song you got and an introduction like that. Wow, that's impressive.
Well, you are impressive. Well deserved.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
So yeah, you got a lot of stuff going on. I think the transition to nurse practitioner is interesting. We're going to do our first question, and then maybe we'll start there. I'm going to mix it up a little, zhuzh it up a little bit for you.
Sure.
So my first question, I always ask people, if you could be a wolf, a werewolf, a zombie, a ghost, a serial killer, a vampire, or, now I've added witch or warlock, which would you be and why?
So I was thinking about that, I was thinking maybe vampire, the usual answer. But honestly, I think a warlock, maybe the popular media warlock, not like the D&D warlock. I was like, well, the warlock, you have magic. You do just about anything and everything. So I like that power fantasy. So I would go warlock.
Oh, okay. I think you're the first guy to say warlock. I think that's interesting.
I'm just amazing like that.
You're not wrong. My second question. If you want a zombie apocalypse, which weapon would you choose and why?
Oof. So not the biggest, strongest guy, so I'd probably pick a ranged weapon.
Ooh.
And because, again, not the strongest guy, so I don't think bows and arrows would work. Maybe a crossbow would be the best option for me.
Oh, that would be fun. A crossbow. I like it.
Yeah, and add a little explosive to it,
Oh, so you'd be Hawkeye.
Hawkeye with a crossbow. Or Huntress.
Oh, Huntress, yes. Very good call, Huntress. I forgot Huntress uses the crossbow. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Yeah. So I think the first question I want to ask is probably going to come back up towards the end, but how did you get into wanting to go into being a nurse practitioner?
Sure. So, as a therapist yourself, that we have patients that, they need medication. And so a couple of things, I worked as a psychiatrist, both, in the clinical setting, in a clinic in Brooklyn, a community mental health center, and also just privately. And listen, no shade to any nurse practitioners, no shade to any psychiatrists. I think that they have a lot of training and they're very intelligent, honestly. There have been times, though, we've all had it where, you look at what another clinician does, and it's like, what made you choose this? Why are you prescribing this medication? Or even beyond that, again, psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, like all of us, we're super busy. So it's really hard to, get them on the phone to talk, hey, what's going on, what medication's going on, what made you do this. I just want to, talk to you one clinician to another so we can, triangulate care. And it's really busy. So in order to alleviate all of that, cut out the middleman. I'll become the prescriber. I trust myself. I'll know what I'm prescribing, and I can get, and it's one-stop shopping therapy and medication for my patients.
How easy is that to do? That seems like I feel like
It's
you could
not.
get.
It's not. So I mean, I'm not in the nurse practitioner program yet. I'm going to be going there. Right now, I'm getting the bachelor's in it, and it's tough. Medicine, nursing, it's tough. Like the respect that I had for nurses before, it's like gone 100-fold, because the patience you need to have, the amount of knowledge you need to have, everything. It's on fucking real.
So you now, when you get into the nurse practitioner and in the medical dispensary, where is your focus going to lie?
I think it's going to stay pretty much where I'm at right now. Sticking with depression, suicide. Maybe some mood disorders. Maybe some mood stabilizers, SSRIs, stuff like that. I don't really want to go and be prescribing like antipsychotics or stuff like that. I want to try to stay away from that. I have my niche, I have my expertise, and I want to stay to it.
Cool. All right. You had a very daunting task in front of you, but I'm sure. So you're doing your bachelor's right now. Is that what you said? So that means you're in, what are you doing exactly? What are you studying?
Sure. So it's a accelerated nursing program to get the BSN. And then once I have that, I'm going to do what I got to do to get into the MSN, the Psych NP program, in order to be able to, achieve that goal of mine.
How long what's the timetable on that?
Sure. So the accelerated nursing I'm in right now, so they're all different lengths. The one I'm in is at Malloy University. That one goes for about 2-ish years, 2.5 years. And then the nurse practitioner program is going to go for another 2 years.
Oh, so in 4 years you'll be a real boy, like a Pinocchio.
Yeah, but then there's also, the post-grad hours and all of that. So then there's that, however long that's going to take. So I'm in this for the long haul.
I like it. That works for me.
Yeah, I got to get that. It's a real investment, but I'm going to get that ROI.
You got to get that return.
Exactly.
So young Marc, what was he like? What was the young you like dancing around? Were you, dressed up like the Hulk? Were you orc? Is that what they called in Dungeons and Dragons?
I was definitely not an orc. I am definitely not an orc. If anything, I'm more like, a gnome. No, yeah, I mean, because again, I'm not the tallest guy, but I'm also, like I'm not a genius, but I think I'm pretty smart. So like, the short guy that really uses his brain. So I think a gnome fits me pretty well, if I'm going, I don't even say, but even back then when I was young, I was always the quiet type, pretty back. I wasn't that charismatic. Over the years, I just, I don't know, I got more comfortable talking to people and just became more bombastic out of my shell. Just when you have those experiences, I don't know, things just happen. Life is strange.
It is. So interesting, because I'm on a similar path. I think like 17, 18, I just decided, what's the point of being shy and being quiet? And I was just like, oh, let me just be me, just because there's no reason not to. And I think that's the thing.
No, I agree. And I didn't go that way. My thing was more like, I don't know, I guess it was almost like exposure therapy, that I just was put in those situations. I had those experiences where, they were negative experiences, but you get used to it. You acclimate. And I've had the ones that were good experiences, like, oh, okay, I could say this, I can do this, I can act this way, and people are cool with it. And it's like, okay, so maybe I don't need to be so much in my shell. I wish I had what you had, was like be shy, just be who you. I wish I could have done that. Trust me, that seems so much easier.
It's rough. It's rough. And then I think part of it is balancing that shyness versus the introvert versus the extrovert in you.
Oh yeah,
because
you pretty much an introvert. What about, are you still an introvert, you think?
No, not at all. I'm a Leo all day, every day, through and through.
You're a Leo?
I'm a Leo.
My man, so am I.
Yes. Let's put that in there. Leo season. When's your birthday?
August 17th. What about you?
I'm July. I'm a real Leo. My wife is also.
Oh.
I like it. Leo season. That's interesting. So with the coming out of the shell and all that stuff, were there any like creative things you like to do? Did you like draw? Did you paint? Did you make music?
I wish I could say yes. I have like not a creative bone in my body. Yeah,
No way.
yeah, man. I don't like I have like very little appreciation of art, not because like, I think art sucks, but because I don't know, I just don't have an eye for it. The only time I've ever been like in awe of any kind of art was when I went to Florence and I saw the David, and that floored me. But outside of that, I was like, I'll look at a painting and be like, okay, that's cool. It takes talent, but okay, it's nice.
Hmm. Interesting. So when you were younger, what did you do? Did you sports? Did you karate? Were you like?
So I've done a lot of things. So I mean, when I was in school, I played a lot of basketball, but I still like
Oh,
to play.
nice.
I'm not the greatest at it, but I like to play because listen, it's about fun, not about being the best. I
Hmm.
did karate for a little bit when I was a kid. Uh, didn't really go far with that. Things that I are really my interest that I put a lot of time and effort, not time and effort, but like a lot of time into is like things like nerdy stuff, D&D,
Hmm.
um, Marvel, Star Wars, stuff like a lot of nerdy stuff.
I think when I was younger, what did I used to play? Was it superhero? Was that the game? It was like board and it was you roll. It was a role play game, so it
Oh, like
wasn't like
D&D.
Dungeons
Okay.
and Dragons. I'm old though, so don't forget this was like 1,000 years ago. I think
D&D is
that's
old.
but it was fun. It was cool. I think I did, and I'm not saying this in a bad. I kind of grew out of that for me.
Mm,
I got into more like the writing and the drawing, and I got into poetry, and I got into stuff like that.
sure.
So I like those creative outlets. That's cool.
And I think that's great. Different strokes for different folks. I think it's great that you have that, artistic ability. I wish I had that as well because I know there's such incredible expression, whether it's songs or people are able to write. Like I don't have that ability, and so I'm a little jealous that you have that. More so, what took my time as a youth that I spent a lot of time with like video games, like a lot a
See,
lot of video games. Oh my god.
what was your favorite to play?
Oh, when I was younger, definitely the Prince of Persia series.
The Prince of Persia.
Definitely.
Oh, I
Yeah,
can see it.
the sands of time. Like I love time shit, like stuff like any kind of like either a book or a
Hmm.
movie or whatever has to do with time manipulation. I love that. So like the Prince of Persia series, you had a dagger, the dagger of time, and you could rewind time. So if you died, for example, you could press the button, rewind, and try again. And I was like, man, that's so freaking cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you were you into like Quantum Leap or anything like that, or
I actually
Looper?
have not played that game. No, actually, funnily enough, I haven't. There's some
What?
games I'm like, people are like, you haven't played that game? I haven't played Quantum Leap. I haven't played Portal. I know it's like people try to revoke my nerd card over that.
It can't be revoked. You are strong. So let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
What's your favorite? I know you do Dungeons and Dragons. I know there's Magic. I don't know
Yeah.
all of them. I don't want to sound silly.
No.
Look, we have a stalker. Look at that.
Oh, Rachel Miller,
Oh,
mutual
hi.
acquaintance. Hello.
Hi. I know you. There's a bunch of games. Which one is your favorite? I'm assuming Dungeons and Dragons, but which is your favorite? And did you first learn with Dungeons and Dragons, or did you grow to Dungeons and Dragons?
My favorite like tabletop RPG. Dungeons and Dragons is definitely my favorite. So I played that. I recently started trying Pathfinder with my friends. It's not a bad game.
Right.
Just I don't know. I like D&D more.
Mhm.
So yeah, I play D&D. D&D. I have a game with my friends once a week. I have another group of friends that I run. I'm actually the dungeon master. I run for them the game once a month. So I have a lot of fun playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, you're a big dog. You're the dungeon master. Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
You think you're
I run a few
creative.
games. It's fun.
You
I'm
have to
sorry.
make a whole story up when you're the dungeon master, and you make up all. How are you not
Well,
creative?
yes and no. So make homebrew stuff. That's true, and I've done that, and it's like, in my estimation, it's like, but like the people who make Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, that's the name of the company, they
Mm.
actually release modules, the pre-published adventures that you just buy the book and you read it out the book for the people, and it's basically all done for you.
I think now I will say okay. I will agree that you are a dungeon master. I just think that me personally, I could have it in front of me and I would still be confused.
That's fine. I should probably change the thing under my name to Dungeon Master instead of Alchemy Counseling.
Big Dog Mark is the best dungeon master. Oh, look at that,
Oh
getting
shit!
praise and adulations and all of that. What's up, J Dubs? Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Jay Dubs. I appreciate that, man.
Um, so we'll get back to the nerd stuff because that's the fun stuff. So tell
Yeah,
me
yeah.
about your parents. Were they around? Were they influential? Your relationship with them?
Sure. So, my mom was super influential in many ways. My dad, not as much. They separated
Mhm.
when I was young. Um, and so I didn't really have that much of a relationship with my dad.
Okay.
Mostly my mom. And I think maybe there's a few ways my mom influenced me.
Hmm.
One of them, so my mom is a language teacher. She teaches Spanish, French, and Italian. And so I
Oh,
know it's really impressive. And so
that's awesome.
it made me want to learn them. She didn't teach me a lick of it growing up, but it made me want to teach myself. I know. It made me want to teach myself. And so in university, I minored in Spanish. So I taught myself Spanish. I'm
Wow.
conversational. I'm not fluent, I'm conversational. Working to improve my Italian. And then once I have that, I'm going to hit French and see what I can do there. Maybe Portuguese even. Um,
Oh, yeah, because you're not
yeah.
creative. I learn every language just because what happened? I woke up and started teaching myself Spanish.
I
How long
want
did
to
that
be able to
last?
communicate.
But that takes a mind that can adapt to those things. I
No,
think
you're
you
not
don't
wrong.
give yourself credit for the creativity that you have because it might not be, classically thought of creativity.
You know, it may be. Like, listen, I never tried to learn an instrument. Maybe I can. I don't know. I don't know. When I was learning the languages, like, there's rules to it. So, like, I
Yeah,
was able to make a game out of it. Like, I don't know if there's rules to make a game out of when it comes to like drawing or writing a novel.
that's awesome. Um, mom taught you the love of language, and I know you like
Yep.
languages. Do
Oh yeah. A lot of
you
other things too.
do you counsel in another language or?
I used to. So I used to work in a clinic in Brooklyn. After I
Oh,
graduated, and I needed to get my hours for licensure, and so it was a Medicaid clinic. And we had a lot of patients who they were from either South America or other places, and a lot of them didn't speak English. A lot of them only
mhm.
spoke Spanish, or it was either them or I saw their kids, and the kids spoke English, but the parents didn't. So I
Wow.
had to be able to talk to them, and
Mhm.
I mean, let's be real. Like, especially today, if you're gonna work, and it was in Brooklyn. If you're gonna work in Brooklyn, Queens, the city, you need to know a second language. It doesn't have to be Spanish, but you really need to know a second language.
Hard to come out here now too. I mean, you talk about Brentwood, Riverhead, kind of like not Bayshore, not the big, like the hub kind of, towns in Long Island. You need to know.
No, I know. And I think people should know a second language. Like
Mhm.
when I was in college, I used to go to the foreign language department a lot and they had a little thing that had a joke on it that said, if you speak three languages, you're trilingual, two languages, you're bilingual, one language, you're American.
Yes,
And I think
yes.
people should
I'm
learn a
fine
second
with that.
language. I mean, it's good in so many ways. You can communicate with more people. It's good
Mhm.
for staving off dementia and Alzheimer's. There's so many benefits to it.
That's all. That's true. That's true. I like it. Um, so you're at dinner. You got 10-year-old you,
Mm,
20-year-old you, and you now.
mm.
What's that conversation like? What's the vibe at the dinner table?
Oh, damn. Holy shit, that's good. Okay, uh, so basically, what would I advise 10-year-old me? What would I advise 20-year-old me? Basically,
Maybe not advised, but what would you guys talk about? It could be advised, but what would the
right?
conversation be like?
I mean, a lot of nerdy stuff, honestly. Probably they're my they're my Star Wars and video games and shit. Probably. And I think eventually would kind of go to advice and stuff. I think
Hmm.
so. Like I would, if I was 10 years old or 20 years old, I would definitely want to ask 30-year-old me. You know, tell me about the future. Like, do things get better in certain ways? Like when I was 10, like when I was in school, I was bullied a lot, like a lot, a lot.
Mm.
So I would want to tell 10-year-old me that listen, it gets better. Things turn out okay. Things are going to be totally fine. It sucks, but you kind of got to soldier through it. But also maybe really stick to those friends, those two really good friends you have, and maybe look to get into counseling, get into therapy, talk to
Mm.
somebody. It might help because I didn't when I was younger, and I think it really would have helped me a lot. And I guess in that kind of way, why I want to work with adolescents. Like a lot of therapists, I want to be the therapist that I needed when I was younger for other people who need that.
Mm. Go ahead. Talk your shit.
Yeah.
Talk
And
your
then
shit.
for 20-year-old me, so when I was a teenager and young 20s, I had a lot of trouble with the ladies. I wasn't very good. And so definitely I think what I would advised to 20-year-old me is like, listen, it's gonna be okay. Yes, you're a bit awkward right now. I get it. Put yourself out there. You're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna be okay. You're not gonna die. You know, you'll acclimate. You'll get better, and you will eventually find someone who is fucking amazing.
Have you?
I have, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, she is amazing. Yeah, she's a Leo too. She's actually literally a week older than me to the day.
I love it. Leo, gang, gang, gang.
I know, right? So we got both Leos.
My
And
wife,
yeah, she
Leo. That's
is
hilarious.
she's actually taken the bar. She's gonna hopefully become a lawyer soon.
Oh boy. So you're just trying to make me look bad everywhere. Thank you. Thank you, Marc, for
I mean, we got the person going to medicine, the person's gonna become a lawyer. You know, we got
that's awesome though. I mean, that's all, if you don't have dreams, then what's the point? And that's awesome.
I tell my patients all the time. Like, so a lot of them are lost. Like, what's your goal? What do you want? What gets you up in the morning? This is what gets me up in the morning. Like, I have goals. I want to achieve shit.
So, did you grow up here or did you grow up in the boroughs?
I am an island boy through and through. I am such an island boy that I still don't know the metro system basically at all.
And that's interesting because you went to school in Queens.
I drove there.
You worked in Brooklyn, so you
drove there.
You kind of cut your teeth in Queens and in Brooklyn and the city, but you're a Long Island boy. How did that come about? Was that purposeful? Was that just
no? No. If it was up to me, I would have stayed in Long Island. I would barely leave the border of it. No, it's that. And so I started out in Hofstra when I was an undergrad, and then and Hofstra's fucking expensive.
Oh.
Yeah, and so Sandy happened, and so I was like, okay, you know what? I tried going to Queens once. I tried applying to them. They denied me, Queens College. During Sandy, I applied again, and I sent them myself again, and I guess someone fucked up there the first time because they're looking at my records and my resume and stuff. Like they're like, oh, we would love to have you. Yes, come, please finish the rest of your undergrad here in Queens, which is much, much cheaper. I'm like, bet, let's go.
Right.
So I was there. It also didn't hurt that my sister lived literally across the street from Queens College. Right. So I just dormed at her.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, listen, I graduated there for undergrad. I'm like, they have a program there. I'll just go there again for my master's, and let's go with that.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Thank you.
More power to you.
Thank you. Which university did you go to get your master's?
Undergraduate. My master's. I went to Post. I went to CW Post, which unfortunately they literally take part of my liver every day, and they're like,
"Oh man,
it's expensive."
Yeah.
It's an excellent program though, because I must say, like, when I came out of graduate school from Post, I really felt that I was prepared. Like, if at that time I would have wanted to do private therapy, I would have been prepared because they really did prepare you because it's a great school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I this is LIU, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know when I applied to get my doctorate, after undergrad, I applied, and then after my master's, I applied. Both times I got rejected. That was one of the places that I applied to. LIU, Long Island University. Like, it's on Long Island? Fucking bet, let's go.
Yeah. Well, when I went there 132 years ago, they had a Brentwood campus. So that, I mean, it was LIU. I went to partly at the Post campus, and I did a few classes at the Brentwood campus, which worked because at that time I lived in Bayshore, and I did a bunch of week intensive classes where it was like, week long, get my 3 credits.
Oh.
I hated school after that week, but you got to do what you got to do.
That's amazing. But yeah, so I mean, that's why I was in Queens. Why I went to Brooklyn. Honestly, as you know, after you graduate, you have to get your hours, and no place will take you without your license. And the only place that I could find that would take me as a limited permit to get my hours was this place in Brooklyn, which was a clinic in Brooklyn. I'm like, okay,
right,
sure, whatever I need to do, because once I get my license, I'm out.
Did you come out of school wanting to do private therapy? Was that always what you knew you wanted to do?
Always. Always.
Interesting.
Yeah, I especially didn't want to stay in the clinic. Like, once I was in the clinic, I was like, okay, I knew I wanted it. Now it's a definite because I have nothing against kids. I have nothing against people with ADHD. I cannot work with that population. It's not for me. There are people who can. They are better than me. That's fine. That's not my population. And I work with so many kids with ADHD in that clinic, and I was like, this is not what I want. This doesn't interest me. I want to work. I want to work with what interests me.
So that's a good. We can parlay into what you do now, but I want to ask you first: did the bullying kind of push you into wanting to be a therapist? Like you said you were bullied a lot. Did it push you into, oh, I want to help people that are kind of going through rough times?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Also in high school, the few people that weren't bullying me, we were friendly friends. They would come to me for help and advice. I'm like, okay, I seem to be good at this. I also want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
This job path seems to be the way to do that. So, I mean, why not? Let's go for it. I mean, it also doesn't hurt that everyone in my family is pretty much in the helping professions. Like I said, my mom's a teacher, my brother's a nurse, both of my sisters are social workers. It's just in the family.
So, why didn't you choose social work or psychology? Like, get your master's in psychology?
So, a master's in psychology, you can't really do much with that. You can't really do therapy. You need to be a social worker or an MFT or an LMHC.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I didn't do social work is super petty. It's because both of my sisters are social workers. I don't want to be another one. I want to be unique. That's literally the reason I swear to you. Super petty.
I love it. That's a great reason, though. That's a great reason. Do they do private practice, or are they like in the field in another capacity?
No. So they didn't do that. I mean, so one sister. So unfortunately, my older sister, she unfortunately died last December. Unfortunately, pancreatic cancer. She never was like a social worker in private practice doing clinical stuff. She became the director of social work, then the director of a nursing home, and then she like just got even an administrator of a nursing home. And then she started being the administrator of the administrators of nursing homes. So she was like, that person who climbed that corporate ladder. Like
Ah.
she was super type A, like unbelievable. My other sister, she also didn't really work clinical, and now she's the director of an organization in New Jersey that helps women who are dealing with different kinds of cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got a very eclectic family.
You have no idea. I mean, my brother, he's got 2 masters, an MSN and an MBA. He wants to get his a doctorate in nursing. He wants to get a DNP. My family is full of people who are just like, it's not enough.
We got to go back to school. No, I'm going back to school. That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
More power to you. So when did you decide that you were like, I'm ready to own a private practice. I'm ready to do this?
So, COVID, honestly, because the thing that was holding me back was, okay, I know I need an office. Offices are hella expensive. I don't know if I can afford that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happened, and everyone was home, and everyone was doing telehealth. And I'm like, okay, this is the best. I mean, I know how people were really badly affected by COVID, and my heart goes out to them. And I feel like an asshole saying this, but it's the honest to God truth. COVID for my business was the best thing that ever happened to me because it allowed me to open up my business, take people privately. I didn't need to see them in the office. And I was able to build up a caseload that I'm making more money than I did at the clinic, seeing a quarter of the patients, doing a quarter of the paperwork, a quarter of the work in general.
Mm-hmm.
And that allowed me then to start renting an office. So that's pretty much what allowed me to make the jump. And most people, like kind of do it smoothly into private practice. COVID allowed me to just drop my job and jump straight into private practice. And also so many people need therapy. So it's like, okay, my case filled up in like 3 months. Also partially because Rachel, who we saw before, she helped me a lot too.
Okay.
A lot.
I have a question about COVID. First of all, are you just amazed at the number of counseling positions and advertisements and all the stuff, like this push for mental health over the last 3 years? Because before,
does it surprise me? No, it doesn't surprise me. No, not at all. Because for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, listen, COVID and shit like that, obviously affecting a lot of people mentally, but also two, we as a society are starting to more and more destigmatize therapy, destigmatize mental health. So it just seems like the logical conclusion.
Rachel, Miss Miller, how did she help you craft the vision? How did you get to the idea of alchemy counseling? Tell me about how your baby was born.
A lot of things there. Okay, so as you well know, in grad school, they teach us diddly shit about the business of therapy.
Why would they
Um,
teach?
I know, right? So she helped me more a lot. I would say a lot with that. She helped me,
Mhm,
to with the financial aspect, the marketing aspect, of course,
mhm,
my logo, my website, fucking just basically everything that you need from the administrative and business aspect. I have another mentor. She helped me more from, like, I guess the clinical aspect, like, getting the CAQH number, the NPI number, getting on insurance
mhm,
panels. But Rachel helped me a lot from the business part, getting
mhm,
the PLLC, that a lot. Rachel helped me out with that. Um, and then, yeah, the weekly, marketing calls that she helped with, okay, what works on social media, what doesn't, like the social media
mhm,
stuff too. Rachel did a lot, and it's the craziest thing. It all started with a phone call she gave me. Like, I get a random, I mean, she messaged me on LinkedIn, a random message. I'm
mhm.
like, is this like those other messages on LinkedIn? Fine, I'll give it a shot. I'll let her call me. Okay. She calls me, and listen, I had this anxiety of being taken advantage of, so I was kind of apprehensive, and she was super patient with me, to her credit. And honestly, that leap of faith was one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. And the patience she had to not just say, "Okay, yeah, fine, you're giving me a hard time. Fuck you.
Mhm.
Good luck." Instead, she pushed it, and like a lot of what alchemy counseling exists a lot today is because of the foundation that she helped me to build.
Hmm, interesting. I did my homework. The logo for alchemy is a lead stone changing into gold as flowers bloom with life. Yes, I did my homework. Is that em- emblematic of you? Is it you? Is it what you want? How did you come up with the logo? I know it's a process that takes
Yeah.
7,000 years with 95 phone calls and stuff. How did you come up
Hmm.
with the logo, and what does it mean for you?
Sure. So starting to the very base of it, just it starts with the name. So I knew I wanted there to be some kind of like nerdy aspect to it. So I'm like, okay, what nerdy aspect do I want the name of my business to be? Well, let's go. I like D&D a lot. Let's go fantasy. So okay, let's go alchemy. Alchemy sounds good. And like, and not only does it sound good, but also like I think we're all like, the own alchemists of our own world. Like, we get to change 'cause the alchemists of years and thousands of years ago. They wanted to turn lead into gold, which is the logo is, the bottom is lead and turns into gold. And
Mm,
so I think, we are able to turn our own, emotional lead into gold. Because I'm very cognitive behavioral oriented, so I'm very into our behaviors and our feelings are controlled by our thoughts. So we are in control of our inner worlds and all of that. So it all just kind of comes together. And then the person who did the logo was working for Rachel at the time, Sam.
mhm,
She, I just said I wanted the stone. She added
mhm.
the vines and the flowers and make life coming out of it. I'm like, oh damn, that's really good. So I was like,
Right.
yeah, this is fucking amazing. And just all these pieces coming together formed the Alchemy Counseling logo that we have today.
I love it. So
Thank you.
deep. Alchemy is a
Hmm.
seemingly magical process of transformation, creation, and or combination of both. So we talked about you being a warlock, and this is, I think this is you planting the seeds in my head so that I put this together. You talked
Good
about being
connection.
a warlock, and now we're talking about alchemy. Do you feel the therapeutic process is magical? Do you feel like it's helping people find their magic?
Well,
What
I mean, I mean, again, there's a big thing we say in therapy: trust the process.
do you?
And what is alchemy if not a process?
Mhm.
So I think there is a magical aspect to it,
Mhm.
and because sometimes there's sudden gains that a patient will come in one day and they're like at their worst, and the next day they'll come in and basically out of nowhere they're doing a little bit better, either because of something that happened in their life that changed, or they're doing something differently, and they're able to build off of that to again turn
Mhm.
that lead into gold.
Hmm. Look at you. Is that what transmuting is?
Yes, sir. Transmutation, turning something from one to another, like turning I don't know, copper into nickel, lead into gold, just transmuting one substance into another.
Hmm. Okay. Um, I told you I did a deep dive.
I appreciate it.
Those determined to overcome their emotional difficulties find that they don't just feel better, but they get better. That's a quote from a fine man came up with that quote. What does that mean to you?
So what that means to me is, so again, I'm very CBT oriented, more so rational emotive behavior therapy oriented. So yeah,
Another one. There's two of us. I love it.
dude. So just as a quick little tangent, when I was in grad school and I was learning theories and I learned about REBT and Ellis, I was like, holy shit! I have never identified with a theory or a train of thought or even a clinician so much as with Ellis. When I learned that he died in 2007, I was like, that's so. I was like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get to talk to him because
Right.
I so badly wanted to like pick his brain. So yeah, so he's said that a lot. Like he wants people to not just feel better but get better, and I really, I really resonated with that because it plays into so many things I've been taught. Like I had another supervisor once that basically said that our job as therapists is to put ourselves out of business. I want you to get to the point where you don't need me anymore, and that you won't need any therapist ever again, hopefully. And that's why I told my patients in the last session, I hope to never see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why I don't want you to just feel better. I'm not gonna just I'll validate you, but I'm not gonna do just validation because that'll make you feel better. But the shit's gonna stay the same. You're gonna be doing the same stupid shit you've been doing. I want you to get better, and you're gonna get better by doing better.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, my job's for you not to need me anymore. So
Yes.
if you have to keep coming back, I also don't think that this is just me. When you get into counseling for like 10, 11, 12, I'm like, why are you in so long? Like, there needs to be like some kind of what's going on. Why?
Right.
Go
I
ahead.
agree. No, I'm saying for the most part, I agree. I mean, obviously, there's certain cases where,
Yeah.
listen, some people are lifers. For whatever it is, like they're dealing with something, super
Yeah.
serious, super
Yeah.
whatever, and okay. But if it's not something that's super serious, like it's either run-of-the-mill depression or it's mild clinical depression, at that point, there's no reason that you need 20 years of therapy.
I too, in graduate school, I was lured in by REBT. I just like the thoughts and the feelings. I'm a CBT too, but I'm way more REBT. But most people don't specifically say I like REBT. But just the whole idea of the rational versus the rational thoughts, and then what you do with the irrational thoughts. All that to me is like that's life. That's everything. You went to the Albert Ellis Institute. You went to the Beck Institute.
I did.
What did you learn there? Did it help you refine certain skills?
Oh yeah. So those trainings. Okay, so let me take a step back. There are a lot of clinicians, and I'm about to shit on a lot of clinicians. There's a lot of clinicians who call themselves CBT therapists, and they have zero training in it. They heard about it or they read about it in a book, and they said, "Oh, I can do that," and they call themselves CBT therapists. And that's, in my opinion, at least, a large reason why so many people say that CBT is gaslighting. Because when it's done incorrectly, yeah, it can definitely come across as gaslighting, 1,000,000%. So what the REBT training, the CBT training helped me do is learn how for it to not be that. Learn how to do it correctly and appropriately. And the major thing, if I'm being specific as to what separates a non-trained person from a trained person, is it all starts with goals. You need to start off with, okay, this is where you are right now. What are we trying to achieve? What is the end goal that we're trying to get? Because without that, you're just, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, 100%. There's no, and I tell whether it's couples or individual, and I'll dabble in family. I just feel like families aren't coming for therapy as much. That's just my observation from what I see. I have a couple. It's hard to get 5, 6 people in the room.
Yeah, it is.
At the same time
on one couch.
On one, yeah, and it's like, tell me about the Beck Institute. What do you think about the Beck? What did you learn at the Beck? Because I know a lot about the Albert Ellis Institute, but tell me about the Beck Institute.
Sure. So they focus. I mean, so it really goes into the intricacies of the differences between CBT and RBT because they're very similar, but they do have differences. So what I learned at the Beck Institute is really they focus a lot more on the structure of therapy. RBT wasn't like that structured. It was more so like, okay, this is where we're starting from. This is the end goal we're trying to get. Okay, here are the techniques you do to try to get from A to B. Beck is a lot more structured. It's a lot more, okay, this is what you do in the first 10 minutes, then the next 15 minutes, the next 25 minutes. And I'm like, listen, I think that definitely can work 100%. I think it's a brilliant idea. It's just not my style.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the techniques are phenomenal.
Yes. Interesting enough, I kind of juxtaposed you. I actually, one of my special areas of focus, or whatever you want to call it, is autism and ADHD. So I'm not necessarily drawn to the structure, but the structure helps with how I present the CBT and how I present the RBT and how I present the information. So because I do feel like they need the structure, because that's one thing I struggle with a lot.
So you would say you're the everyday expert on ADHD and autism? The everyday expert.
I like that. Touche.
Can I send you my ADHD patients, or the ones that come to me? Can I send them to you?
Can. Send them all to me.
Okay.
I like it.
And you can send me anybody who's dealing with suicidal thoughts.
Perfect. So you brought it up. That's one of your. Is that close to home? Did you deal with a lot of suicide? Did you folks struggle with it? And if you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
No, yeah, sure. So again, I dealt with a lot of bullying when I was younger. So those thoughts definitely crossed my mind. Like, I never had a plan or anything like that. I never self-harmed or anything like that. But those thoughts definitely have crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary. And that's one of the reasons why I think that, I wish that back then I had the intelligence or wisdom. I mean, not intelligence, wisdom. If I had the wisdom back then to say, listen, I think I should see a therapist. And unfortunately, I wasn't, I didn't have that wisdom because of, dumb teenager. But after I, graduated high school, and I knew in college, okay, I want to focus on psychology. I wanted to become a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I knew getting into grad school, especially a doctoral program, I need experience, whether it's research experience or something. So I went and I volunteered for the suicide hotline, the Long Island Crisis Center here in Long Island. And we dealt with a lot of suicidal calls, and their training is so good. It's like 8 months of intense training. You have a mentor who is teaching you everything you need to know, the exact techniques. And I realized, okay, I can work with suicide. Suicide is not that hard for me to work with. I know a lot of clinicians, it is hard and it's scary. And it is scary because one wrong move and you feel like you're going to lose your license. And I get that fear. I felt like my training at the suicide hotline really kind of helped me to get around that. And that I know my shit. I know you're thinking of killing yourself. I know how to treat you. Right. I know how to help you. Right. And so that helped a lot. And that's where I think the suicidality specialty came from.
So 8 months of training, which is intense, on working with suicidality. My first question is, did they train you on if somebody's successful and how you deal with that?
Oh, you mean, so if I learn that they're successful, how do I manage my own emotions?
Did they work with you on?
So thank God that never happened. To me at least. The closest it's ever gotten to, and this will answer your question, is so I used to do the overnights. So when it's like 12 to like 7, there's only a couple people who are there because not everyone can be there overnight. So I did that, and I got a person who once, and I'm sorry, this is like really deep, really dark, whatever, but it's the truth. Is he said, like, I have a gun to my head right now, and at that moment I felt my throat close up in fear. I'm like, okay, I swallowed it. I counted him. It went totally fine. We had to write up a quick little note as to what the call was about, and I submitted it, whatever. And the next time that I was in the center, we each have a little copies, and there's a little note in the copy from one of the administrative people saying they read the note. They're saying I did a good job. It was very hard. If I need to talk to them or anything like that, that I'm more than welcome to let them know, and that they'll help me with any thoughts or feelings that I'm having in regards to what happened.
Because I had a couple of people that attempted suicide, and I had one guy who got close, and this was 12 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, when I was less old, but I was still old then.
And that person's still with us?
Yes.
Thank God.
As far as I know.
Thank God.
And that was one of the times that I really and I don't just beat myself up.
I get that. Yeah.
And it was hard.
Yeah,
have you come close to that, or have you kind of skated free, just in general,
for myself or for a friend.
for you?
No, I never got close to. Like I said, I never had a plan. I never like self harm, so I never got. It was really only ever thoughts. So yeah, I never had anything for myself. Thankfully, I never had anything like with my friends.
Mm.
And it's something that, listen, if anybody's listening, they want to, or it's a good advice to have. Something we would always tell people who would call, third party about suicide. That maybe someone in high school that they would call us, say, listen, my friend said about suicide, yada yada. I'm scared, and we would tell them, listen, you should go try to a school counselor or teacher or something. And they said, well, what if they decide want to be friends with me? And we would tell them, listen, better a friend that hates you than a friend that's dead.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
So if anyone knows somebody who's dealing with it, please get them help, or tell somebody. Do what you can to help that person. Better that they be angry or annoyed with you than dead.
How so? You kind of have. How was working during the pandemic different than working with the suicidality, even though there's a lot of overlap with all the death?
Right. So, like, basically, how do I work with suicide via telehealth? I guess I don't fully
No,
understand the
no, no.
question. Sorry.
How was working during the pandemic? How was that like
Mhm.
parallel to dealing with all? You work with suicidality, so it's a lot of parallel
Okay,
of death and all of that stuff.
I hear. It was tough because it was novel. There was a lot of information coming out, day by day, week by week. So there was a lot of like, I don't have the answers. And I needed a lot of supervision because I was like, I thank God I have a mentor and she's fucking amazing. And I'd be like, I don't have any answers. I know you don't have any answers. You've been in this longer than me. Help me out. And honestly, the best answer I was able to give my patients, what she gave me, and it actually helped them, was, well, twofold. The first was, okay, we're going to take it day by day. The,
Hmm.
the goal today is to get through today. The goal tomorrow is to get through tomorrow, which are going to take it day by day. And the second piece of advice is turn off the fucking news.
Please stop listening to everything that comes out. Yeah.
Turn off the news. If it's on your phone, if it's on like Facebook or whatever, limit it, delete the apps, whatever. Stop looking at this shit because it's not helping you.
Mm, that's true.
So that's how I dealt with that. And but people were like, listen, they had family members or friends who had died from it. It was a lot of, it wasn't that different from basic grief counseling, honestly.
Okay. Good answer. Good answer.
I try. Well, actually, I would love to know. How did you handle, patients during the pandemic?
Um, man, that's when I was really probably back into the swing because for a while I wasn't doing private practice. When I
Mm,
came when I came out of grad school, I didn't want to be private practice. Um, that
mm,
wasn't the goal because I,
mm,
I I was the one that I feel like a lot of especially what I do is experiential. Couples counseling, experiential.
mm.
You know, if you've never been in a relationship before, it's hard to be a couples therapist. You could do it, with a lot of experience of working with like my specialty with autism and ADHD.
Mm.
I worked in group homes. I worked in a day program. I worked in a house as a behavior specialist. I worked as an ABA. So, you know, my son's autistic. So I have a lot of that experience that I can bring where it just gives me a different slant on it. So I think
Right.
that during the pandemic, my father passed away in the beginning of the pandemic.
Sorry.
And thank you. And learning, I had to navigate all the changes. And I think that's when I was like, oh, I can see because there was so many couples. I had a lot of couples during the pandemic, and it was like, oh, I guess when you can't run away, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I remember people saying, like, listen, either this is going to be great for couples because they're spending a lot of time together, or it's going to be terrible because they're spending a lot of time together.
Can't run and hide. Oh, I married you. That's right. Oh, I got to talk to you. That's right. You
Yeah,
forget.
and I got to spend all this time with you, whereas I was spending 8 hours a day away from you.
Mm-hmm. And now you're in my face. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, and not just that, but our kids are home too. They're not in school.
Yeah. And we're being teachers, and we're being cooks, and we're being disciplinarians, and well, it was a lot of people in a lot of roles they weren't used to. and it, became very daunting. So I think
Oh yeah.
helping people just navigate all of the pandemic stuff was just intense in general,
Right.
because it fucked the whole world up. And
It
we're not
really did.
about something that's local. This is the whole world, and I think that's what made it a little bit easier, because of the gravitas of the totality of everybody.
Right. And there was a lot, I'm sure you had this too. There was a lot of talk of, feeling powerless and hopeless and helpless.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is like, okay, I get that. You know what? That makes sense. I'm powerless over it too. Here's my question to you.
Yep.
What do you have power over?
Mm.
Okay, cool. Let's focus on that. Let's put all our energy into what you do have control over.
Mm-hmm. Very
And that
true.
was and that was part of, let's just get through today.
Mm-hmm. So as far as, going back to Alchemy for a minute, are you going to stay a solo practitioner? Are you expanding? Are you, going into the matrix?
That is a great question. So my goal is to take on clinicians, whether it's interns or licensed professionals. I want to expand it. Right now I'm renting an office from a space. I want to be the person who has the space and is renting out the offices. That's what I want, because that's great passive income.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, I have a lot of goals. That's one goal. The nurse practitioner is another goal. Passive income is another goal. So having the office, I also am planning on either creating a workshop or an ebook based on my experience with suicide and treating suicide, and for clinicians specifically, so that they're not as scared and so that they're much more, equipped to handle it. And that could be passive income in a way as well. I would sell it for, and it would be expensive. And so that is my overall goal.
How much have you evolved? Because you said 2013 you graduated. Was that 14 or was it earlier than that?
Grad school?
Yeah.
I graduated grad school in 2017.
17. Okay. Sorry, I read a lot of stuff.
No worries. No worries.
2000. As you get into the field longer, do you feel like you're evolving to more of a teacher for other clinicians, especially with your specialty, when it's something that a lot of people don't know about in terms of specialization?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to. Like, another thing I would love to be able to do, if I have the time, is I would want to teach a course in a mental health counseling program. I would probably want to either teach a suicidality course, or the crisis intervention course, or even do the internship course. And I'd want to teach them all the things they need to know, and that's not just the clinical stuff, but also parts of the business. If I'm a nurse practitioner at that point, I would want to make sure they at least understand at a basic level the psychotropic medications. So I would definitely want, yes, I definitely want to teach. I have that from my mom as well. I want to, give, I want to teach, because I feel like it'd be selfish. And this is gonna sound so conceited, and I don't mean it that way. I think it'd be so selfish of me, or anybody, you included, or anybody of us, to not bestow what we have, the wisdom that we have.
So important, because I find that when a lot of clients come in with these diagnoses, they're like, "Oh, I don't even know what this means." Like, nobody sat down and explained it to you. Nobody gave you any educational tools. Like, even if you go to Dr. Google and you get all the information, well, you have to suss out and parse out what it means, what you're looking at, and how does it what does it mean to you. That's it. And I think teaching is a big part of counseling. But I also think that passing the information along to new clinicians or younger clinicians or other clinicians is super important.
It is. And that's why, like I said, I love to take on interns. I love to teach them, help them to become the clinicians that they're meant to be. Even a lot of our job with our patients is, psychoeducation. So a lot of it is an educational aspect. So we say, like, am I evolving towards there? I think I'm in the process of getting there. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're gonna transition to the fun shit.
Okay.
I'll ask you about the stuff I don't really care about first, because I'm not a Star Wars person.
All right.
Really. I always grew up with Star Trek. Love the Borg. I like the Borg. With Star Wars, how did you kind of get into it? Was it the universe of it? Was it the characters?
Honestly, it started with my friends. I have these two. I have two best friends that I've been friends with since first grade, and they're also huge nerds. And honestly,
Mm,
they got me into almost all the nerdy stuff I've been into. So like whether it's D&D, whether it's comic books, whether it's Star Wars, whatever, they're
mm,
pretty much the ones who got me into it. And like I'm not like huge in Star Wars. Like I'm like I read the comics or I'm into the expanded
mm,
universe or I saw the shows. I think I really only saw just Obi-Wan. But
mhm.
but like made sure to see all the movies. And when they came out, I made sure to be in there either opening week or the week after.
I've seen all the movies, but I couldn't get through. What was the last one? Rise of.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I tried watching it, and I was just like,
That opening crawl, you lost me in the first 15 seconds.
it's just,
Somehow he survived. I'm sorry, what?
it's like, wait, what happened? Changing directors midstream is hard. Changing storylines and then trying to reset. I get that it's creativity, and I do think that with Star Wars, what makes it hard, where it's not MCU, it's not DC, to try to have a through line story is hard when you're talking about so many different things.
You know what? I think it is. I think, much like the difference between a CBT therapist and a trained CBT therapist,
Mm.
there was a starting point, but there was no planned endpoint.
Mm.
And that effed them up.
Mm-hmm. And I think, then you lost Kathleen Kennedy, who was running Lucas. Oh. 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 What was that? Tell me, please, elucidate.
There's so much stuff that came out in regards to how a lot of Star Wars fans were pissed at her. A lot of them blamed her when it came to Star Wars. Whether that's true or not, I'm not. I mean, I know Rian Johnson has a lot of blame,
Mm.
but being that she's the head of Star Wars, listen, whether or not you had a direct hand in it, if you're the head of something, you are by extension responsible.
Mm-hmm. If you could take anybody from the Star Wars universe and be their therapist, who would you pick?
And be their therapist.
Be their therapist.
Anakin, 100%.
Oh, Anakin or Darth Vader?
Anakin, because that would prevent him from becoming Darth Vader.
Ooh, tell me
Yeah,
more, please. I like it.
because the whole reason that he did this was because he was afraid of losing Padme. So
Mm.
if we could either, show one of two things, either, acceptance, like, listen, if she's going to die, she's going to die, and that's okay. And then we're going to figure out, how to live beyond that, that's okay. Or two, is this just an irrational belief of yours? Like, is this
Mm.
actually real? Or is this something you convince yourself? Is this old man you're talking to just feeding you lies? If we can, if we can prevent him from becoming Darth Vader, so much gets saved. Maybe Order 66 doesn't happen.
Mm. Darth Vader or Luke? Which one do you like better?
Darth Vader. He's so bad. Okay, Rogue One. That like basically ending scene
Oh,
when
when he
he's
came
walking.
in and he was just mopping him up. Oh.
Yes, it's dark, it's just smoke, and you hear the breathing, and all of a sudden from his lightsaber it lights him up, and he's just mollywopping them. Oh my god, that was amazing.
um, again, there's stuff that I didn't watch Obi-Wan, but I did watch him and Vader have the sword fight at the and I was just like, oh, this is because there's some things that I think are just cinematically cool to watch. Like when I watch movies, there's some things where you're like, oh, that's cool. Like that scene at the end of Rogue One where he just came in and he was give him 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes.
Yeah, I know exactly. But I think so. I like the latter half of Obi-Wan a lot because again that fight because they finally so two things in Obi-Wan that really just it showed in that fight what they could really do with the Force, what the Force is really capable of. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, two, that fight he had with, I think her name is Reva, where
Mm-hmm.
she's going to attack him. He doesn't move, stopping it because he's holding it back with the Force, takes her blade, cuts it in half, gives it back to her. It's like the disrespect, the pettiness. I'm not going to use my blade. I'm going to use your blade. Oh my God, that is Vader being Vader at his most Vader. I loved it.
What I like about Vader is that I like that he is obviously he's a badass, but he is beatable.
Yes.
So So if we parallel him like Thanos,
Mm.
Thanos was mopping them all up. He was whooping their ass again. If they didn't get
He
to
was beatable though. He was beatable. He almost lost twice. Once
almost
when with Star-Lord, he had the chance, but he let his emotions get the better of him, and Thor
Mhm.
didn't go for the head. Both those times they could have won.
Right. They could have. But
Exactly.
okay. I mean, yes.
He was beatable. Very, very, very difficult, but beatable.
Okay. What color would your lightsaber be?
Green.
Green.
Yeah.
Have I seen a green
Green.
one? I've seen purple. I've seen red. I don't think I've seen a green one. Who has a green one?
Luke and Yoda
Yes.
and Qui-Gon Jinn.
You're right. I don't know the last one, but now that you
Qui-Gon
say it,
Jinn was Obi-Wan's master from the Phantom Menace when they fought Darth Maul.
Okay. Oh yeah, I like Darth Maul.
I know my Star Wars movies.
I see. I don't. All right. Next question. This is going to be fun. If you had to pick Dungeons and Dragons, DC, Marvel, or any of your other nerd eccentricities, could only pick one to partake in, which one? And that would be it for the rest of your life. Which one would you partake
to partake in?
Like
D&D.
D&D.
I would say D&D.
You're a little...
But I'll explain why.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Marvel and DC, it's nothing but lore, and I have no control over it. With D&D, I create the lore. Whether I'm a player or the dungeon master, I create the lore.
Have you played Magic?
I have, yeah.
Which one do you? Well, obviously, like Dungeons and Dragons better. How was it?
I mean, I still play it now and again. I don't, I'm not so into it. Like I play it now and again. I like it a lot. I mean, my favorite colors are the red blue combination called the Izzet League. So I like playing that color deck the most.
Okay. See, I'm learning new stuff. Marvel or DC?
I would have to say Marvel, honestly, because I mean, listen, I like DC. I love it. I like Marvel more. One, because I'm more familiar with it, with the lore and everything, and also because Spider-Man's my guy. Like, I'm sorry, Batman is a close second, but Spider-Man's my guy.
Okay, so Spider-Man's your guy. He's your favorite?
Oh yeah, you can't beat Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
You can't beat Across the Spider-Verse or the Home. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, or the live action, the new ones with Tom.
So I'm not gonna lie. Tom Holland is not my favorite of the three live action. I don't hate him. He's not my favorite. And so, but also those Into the Spider-Verse, the way they did Miles Morales is, what's the word? Impeccable. So I'd have to go with that.
Okay. I haven't seen the new one yet. I have seen the first one. It was really good. I am not going to lie. I was never a huge animation person. I like the X-Men comic cartoons. From when
that theme, man.
Yeah, those were great. Like people try to get me to watch Harley all the time. I heard it's really good.
It's good.
No, I believe it. I just, it's one of those things where it's like, I'll scroll past it and I'll be like, nah.
You want a really good animated show, and I promise you'll love it. Castlevania.
Okay.
It's on Netflix. I promise you'll love it.
Okay. All right. That's fair. So you said Marvel. Who is your favorite after Spider-Man? Oh.
You got me thinking now.
Mm-hmm.
My mind immediately goes to the X-Men.
Ooh.
I would have to say Nightcrawler.
Interesting. That's a black horse. Wow.
Yeah, I have to say Nightcrawler because I love the idea of the power of teleportation.
Do you like how he was presented in the cartoon, or do you like how he's portrayed in live action?
The animation's better. The
Yeah,
animation, in my opinion, is closer to the comics, which is,
yeah.
its purest form.
Are you a
So
big
yeah, I have
comic
to go there.
nerd? Are you a big comic
Sorry,
person? Are you a big
comic
comic
person.
person?
Um, so I mean, I don't read them as much as I would like to. Um, what I read the most online is more manga than comics, but I do keep up with the lore of
Ooh.
DC and Marvel, just so I'm not too out of the loop. But when I get a chance to read a Spider-Man comic, you best believe I am reading that shit.
So you read manga's anime, right?
Yeah, it's the comic book version of anime.
Okay.
Yeah, the anime are usually based off the manga.
Okay. So you're big into that. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of anime, and obviously, especially ones that have a manga version. Like love Naruto, so I finished the
Oh,
Naruto manga before I finished the anime of it.
okay. All right, that works. Okay, I like it. Um, favorite villain from Marvel?
Favorite villain from Marvel? Uh, I have to say Doctor Doom.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Does everyone say that?
No, it just doesn't surprise me. That fits. I don't know why. For some reason, that makes sense for you. It's one of those
Because
things. Vibes.
well, because here's the thing though. In his lore, he was once shown by this white tiger, magical white tiger, that he's right. Surprisingly, like the world will be better objectively, apparently, if he wins.
Mm,
But yet, what he wants to do is so evil. So it's like, and I think that makes him such a compelling villain.
mm, mm. Okay. Doctor Doom. Okay. Um, favorite on-screen Batman.
It's not even a competition.
Batfleck. Batfleck.
You're lying.
I like Batman. I like Ben Affleck as Batman.
That's your favorite?
Um,
No
Christian
way. You're
Bale.
lying.
No, he's a close second. I like Batfleck.
No, the Christopher Nolan Batman is like by far the best, live action Batman fucking ever.
All right,
Like it's not
so
even close.
I don't, I don't,
I can't get
I,
behind Batfleck because he kills, and that's not Batman.
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense for the lore. I like how he's portrayed because he's aside from the killing, I like the way like he fights. He's very like grungy and down to earth, and
Mm,
he comes in and like he's a big dude, so you see him like throwing people and
yeah.
molly with him. Like, so I buy into his fighting style, and he's
Okay.
older and he's like disgruntled. So you know how
Mm.
you ever meet any therapists that are like really old? You just like you need to quit.
Like jaded, like super fucking jaded. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get
like
that. Because I mean he's based off of oh my god, what is that comic series that he's based off of? I forgot the name. Rise of the Dark Knight, not Rise of the Dark Knight. I forget what it's called. But yeah, he's based off that old man Batman,
mm-hmm.
the one that beats Superman in a fight.
That's not happening. Let's just clarify that for everybody. I understand he's got his little gadgets.
Well, I mean, do you know how he won?
What did he have? Like some
He
kryptonite? Like,
he had Green Arrow shoot an arrow that at the tip had some kryptonite that when
yeah.
it hit the ground turned into dust that Superman breathes in,
Mm-hmm. I mean
and
that
that's
makes.
how he won.
I mean, I get it. I understand. I'm fundamentally juxtaposed to. It's not a reality.
No, it's not.
It's
It's
not
not.
a reality.
It's not.
And I think that honestly, with Batman and Superman being friends for so long, I feel like he would have come up with something for Superman to kind of whatever to counteract the effects of of kryptonite at some point.
I don't know. I mean, if it's your weakness, but like at the same time, like Superman, honestly, if this is like the actual Superman, he could put Batman in the sun before Batman could breathe,
Yeah,
before he could blink.
yeah.
So that's like that actual
Mhm.
Superman. But so yeah, but if I had a second favorite, which is pretty close second favorite to on-screen Batman, I actually like the Batman. I actually kind of like it.
Oh, Battinson. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
He's really good. I think that interesting. The Elseworlds have potentials to have really good second movies. Um,
yes.
the Joker Part 2 with Gaga,
Totally, I
and
do.
yeah, what you said, and the Batman 2, they could be really, really good
Yeah.
because they laid solid foundations for the lore. And I know the Joker's not necessarily written off a story, but they laid solid foundations for the lore. But the Batman, if you get to see Pattinson be Bruce Wayne a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and kind of find out the flaws, because you see his flaws, but I think his
Yeah,
flaws very much he's always wearing a mask.
it's true. It's true.
Um, do
You
you
know,
think?
what I'm kind of surprised though. Of all the favorite characters, given who you are, I'm surprised which question you haven't asked.
Oh, I will. Don't worry. I'll get
Oh,
there.
okay.
We were just talking about DC first because you said Batman's a close second to Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
If you could only read one comic book, Batman or Spider-Man, which one would you read?
Batman or Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man, honestly.
Really?
It's just
Oh.
yeah. Because honestly, the thing about Spider-Man that makes me the most interested in him is the spider sense. The spider sense is ridiculous, and I love it.
Mm.
It's like so in the most recent Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, the way they did it when he was holding the box and he was outside of his soul's outside of his body, and he's moving the box around. That's what the spider sense does. It's ridiculous, and I love it.
Okay. Uh, I will ask the question because you are dying. Best on-screen Joker, and then you can follow up with your favorite Joker, on screen or comic book or whatever.
Sure. So best on-screen Joker would be from Gotham, Jerome.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Hold on, I'm trying to die. Hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Heath Ledger's amazing. He is. He is unbelievable. He is like one tick below Jerome.
Can we kick Marc off the show, please? No.
One tick, because Jerome has like every Joker in one, basically.
Okay.
The actor did so well. Oh my god! It jumpstarted his career. It was that good.
Okay.
It jumpstarted his career so much that some of the most recent Star Wars games, he is the main character.
Okay. I mean, that's how you feel. Feelings aren't wrong.
Really, really good. I remember when he first showed himself, when he was putting on that facade, and then the facade came off. Like my jaw was on the floor. I was like, "Oh my god, this is the Joker!" Without saying it's the Joker, it was so good.
Okay.
So it was so good.
If you had to pick who the true hero and who the true villain are between Batman and Joker, who would you pick?
I mean, Joker's not a hero. He's not a hero. He's not. So by default, Batman has to be the hero.
He's an anti-hero.
By default. There is no world in which Joker is the hero. He kills too many people unrelentingly to be a hero.
Hot take. What if Batman is the villain and Joker is really the hero?
Explain.
So I always look at them as not independent. I think they need each other to be the counterbalances.
Yeah, true.
I don't think that the Batman is so much more principled than the Joker. He has one rule, but he refuses to break it to the detriment of people.
Right, but it's the detriment of people who are dying because of the Joker.
Yes, because Batman. Okay, so I was reading an article. We're going to do an aside for us. I was reading an article. It's called "Decision Making in the Batman." We all know Batman's biggest villain is the Joker, and his one rule is that he doesn't kill. Right?
Yes.
And the whole article is about taking emotions out of decision making. Right? So, when I talked to a bunch of my clients about this, I said, well, what happens is Batman is so stuck on not breaking his rule that he almost fights himself because he's letting people die, because the quickest way to get rid of the Joker is to kill him.
Right. So, like, now, if you want to say that makes Batman a villain, fine. But how does that make Joker a hero?
Because they balance each other out. So if Batman is the true villain, then Joker has to
Mm.
be, even if you say anti-hero.
I would say that if anything, I would say that Batman is an accomplice.
Ooh, hot take nation.
He's an accomplice to a crime.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
I would say.
Okay. That fits. I'll let that slide. Um, whose psychosis do you buy into more, Heath or Joaquin?
Joaquin's.
Well, Joaquin's playing himself. Let's be real. Joaquin's a whole weirdo, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
I buy into it more because it's more interesting. Honestly, the Joker's is just the Heath Ledger's is just, oh, I'm a sociopath. I kill people. I don't feel anything. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
he's an agent of chaos. He's an agent of. He creates chaos. He makes people
That
question.
that is a textbook psychopath's rationalization of their actions. That's not interesting.
That well, in the first question, I picked serial killer.
Mm,
You know why I picked serial killer?
why?
They're the only ones that are human.
The only ones that are human. Explain.
Vampires live forever. I wouldn't want to live forever. They're dead.
Okay.
Zombies, just a waste. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to turn into a wolf or a werewolf. I wouldn't want to do that. Witches are debatable, but I just don't
They're
have
human.
that.
They just have magic powers.
I don't have the witchy vibe. I'm not that much into magic. That's not shade. That's just, who I am. And I wouldn't want to be a ghost because ghosts are annoying. So by default, because a serial killer could be a sociopath or a psychopath. I wouldn't necessarily want to be a sociopath because they're just detached from the world.
Right.
But psychopaths, Red Reddington, Hannibal, Dexter, Joe from You, those type, and I don't necessarily like Joe because I don't like just organized serial killers as much. But you look at them, you're like, oh, the things. I love Hannibal.
Oh, he's super interesting, but his psychopathy is not what makes him interesting. It's his personality that makes him interesting. His killing isn't interesting. His psychobabble, for lack of a better term, is what makes him interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter, his killing is not necessarily interesting. It's how he lives his life. It's how he doesn't get caught that's interesting.
I think Red is interesting.
Red also.
Blacklist? Yeah, Red's very interesting.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Not is it Patrick Bateman? Not Patrick Bateman.
Patrick
the
Bateman.
guy from American Psycho.
It's Patrick Bateman, I think.
And that's Patrick Bateman?
Pretty sure.
Okay, because I'm thinking of the guy from the Bates Motel. That's.
Oh. The one.
Okay, so.
Norman Bates is the Bates.
Norman Bates. Okay, yeah. So it's Patrick Bateman. So Patrick Bateman is interesting not because he kills people, because he doesn't get caught, and because he's a little aloof and weird. That's what makes him interesting. Not because he kills people. Killing people, it's actually a very sad state. What it says in media, killing is not interesting. It's become so normal that's like, okay, cool. You kill people. You need to give me more.
But that's why I think Hannibal. That's why I think the serial killer is the most interesting one.
But both Joaquin and Heath are serial killers. Both of them.
See, I feel like
they're both serial killers. Because let me ask you this. When you saw the hospital blow up in The Dark Knight, was your jaw on the floor?
Yeah, just because I thought it was cool.
Okay. When Joaquin pulled the gun on the talk show host, did that make your jaw drop to the floor when it happened?
I was probably surprised he shot him because a lot of people were like, "Oh, I knew that was coming." The build up, but I didn't
see that coming. That shocked me.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, damn. Okay, I did not see that coming. That shocked me." So I just think Joaquin's is so much more interesting.
I don't think he's all right. Relax.
Mark. I do. I think he's a lot more interesting.
Honestly. So much more. Oh man.
Yeah, so much more interesting.
I think he's more realistic.
I think that's more interesting.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. If there was going to be a real life Joker, knock on wood, because people get. I could see Joaquin's Joker being spawned out of just the way life is. I think Heath is more interesting for the social experiments because I like that when I talk about I like that he challenges Batman at every turn. And what he said, for all your power and all your strength, you can't do anything to beat me.
So I will give you that. Something that the Heath Ledger Joker has is he has the best one-liners.
Yeah.
All the best lines.
Yeah.
That I'll give you, 100%.
I mean, yeah. So, all of DC, who would you want to be the therapist for? All the
DC,
characters.
who the therapist for? You know what would be fascinating to be who's therapist? Harley Quinn.
Harley!
That would be fascinating. One, because she already knows the tricks of the trade, but also, I don't buy her descent into madness. I don't buy it.
Interesting.
It feels so ham-fisted every time. Every time.
I do like Punchline, his new sidekick, from what I've read. I don't know a lot about her, but I do like what I like about the role she has is that they're not a couple.
Interesting.
I like that they're not a couple because she's just kind of like his right hand woman. She does all the same stuff that Harley does, but I think what eventually became Harley's weakness was that she was in love with the Joker and she just let him, beat the piss out of her. It was just, for what the relationship signifies and all that stuff. And I know people are like, oh, you really like that relationship? It's so abusive. I was like, first of all, it's a comic book.
I mean, true.
Comic book. But I think she is a little gooder with Joker than she is kind of like with Ivy and all. And there's not, the relationship is healthier.
It's healthier with Joker?
No, healthier with Ivy, with Poison Ivy. Like
yes,
her
1,000,000%.
It's healthier. I'm not trying to take that away. But I do think that what makes her Harley was because of her relationship with the Joker in a lot of ways.
It makes it much more of an interesting story.
Oh, yeah. And it's destructive.
Oh, yeah. And that's what makes it an interesting story. I mean, listen, it's terrible for her. Great for us.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I didn't like Birds of Prey for that. I mean, it was fine.
Birds of Prey was not a good movie. It was okay. It was okay.
It was, but I felt like it was a cop out. It was like, okay, she's over the Joker, sisters before misters, all that, which is again great, fine,
Fair
wonderful.
enough.
But the relationship never really materialized in front of us on the screen. So you're getting over something that you never really saw.
Right. I mean, the Harley Quinn animated show does a lot better of showing the what she does with the dissolution of the relationship and what she does and who she becomes and all this. That's a much better take on it.
Yeah.
Like the concept Birds of Prey had, the concept was beautiful. The execution was terrible.
Yeah. And it's not like she plays Harley great.
Oh yeah, Margot Robbie's amazing.
Probably not going to play Harley again.
Oh.
Well, that's what Gunn said. So, hold on. I have another question.
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta find it. You talked about. I know you work with other therapists. What is that like for you? What's that experience like for you? Because it's somebody that you probably knows a lot of the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, it is. So I mean, it kind of goes a little bit back into what we were talking about before in regards to like teaching. So it's a lot of the same thing. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I don't get either one. What do I do with my patient? Oh, have you tried this or that? It's almost like it's almost like supervision in a way. But also, again, we as therapists need our own therapists because one, we're not perfect. We're human. And also, two, part of being human, aside from the emotions aspect, is that we have blind sides. We have not blind sides, blind spots. We have blind spots.
Yeah, 100%. And
yeah.
Is it easier therapy for you, or is it hard?
That is a good question. Honestly, just like non-therapist patients, it really does depend on how receptive the patient is. If they're coming in with, listen, I want to learn, I want to become better, then it's great. If it's like, I'm going to fight you, or I know better, or whatever it is, then like, okay, it's gonna be difficult, and why the fuck are you here?
Right. Interesting.
One of the best things, one of the easiest things though, if it's like, okay, now let me ask you, if you were treating your patient and they're telling you what you're telling me, what would you say to them as their
Oh,
therapist?
100%. And you get it
I
all the time.
love that line, and it works so well.
When you're working with other therapists, do you feel like there are moments when you are more vulnerable with a patient because they're a therapist?
Meaning, like I'll self disclose more.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but
Probably, yeah. Like I'll be like, listen, I worked with patients like that, and this, and I X, Y, and Z didn't work for me. This did work for me, and or even the transference, counter transference that you experience in therapy. Yeah, I think it's very helpful for those specific patients to have that kind of self disclosure because it helps to create this camaraderie and also the rapport, and also be like, okay, my therapist knows what I'm going through, knows what I'm feeling. I trust them more.
okay, that works. Um, so let's talk about the state. We're gonna go back to Marvel for a minute, then we'll come back to DC.
Okay.
Um, what phase is it? 38, 42, phase 5. In Marvel.
Oh, in the movies. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I hear a lot of great stuff about what the comic books are doing. Actually, the
Yeah.
storylines have been good. What do you think of the movies, and what's kind of going on with the storylines and Kang and all this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I just think that the fire is starting to sputter out a bit because
Mm.
they're trying to capture that same lightning in a bottle, and you can't do that. Maybe try to capture a different lightning bolt in a bottle. Do something a little bit different because they're trying to make Kang basically a Thanos level threat. Which, I mean, obviously you have to have a big threat, but like it could be a Thanos level threat in a different kind of way. And I don't know. It seems to me like they're going like in a very similar kind of direction, and
Mm.
that's boring. I think people are bored by that.
Um, yes, I don't. One of the things that I listen to a bunch of people that talk about movies and stuff like that, because movies is probably one of the things I'm really into, like horror movies, as you can see from my boys behind me.
Yeah, man. Serial killer, of course.
Right? Listen, don't judge.
No, no, no judgment, just observation.
um,
Therapist.
one of the things that I think is interesting is that with Jonathan Majors and him
Mm.
being on trial for stuff, and stuff keeps coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you watching Loki? And you said you're not doing the series, right? You don't watch the series anymore.
I watched Loki season 1. I haven't watched Loki season 2. Not yet, at least. Right now. I'm in the middle of trying to complete Baldur's Gate 3. So all the series have taken a backseat.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I've been watching Bull. Have you watched Bull?
I haven't even heard of it.
So Bull is Phil McGraw is one of the executive producers on it, and it's
Dr.
kind of the
Phil?
story of Dr. Phil.
Damn.
And it's the story about how he got into the business because he did trial science analysis or jury's
Mm-hmm.
analysis, whatever it's called. And it talks about it's a little bit something, I guess, loosely based on what he did. Like, he met Oprah preparing her for one of the trials. A lot of people don't like Dr. Phil, but his brief techniques, is he fixing people in an hour? No, but some of his brief techniques are really good.
Yes and no.
All
So the
right.
technique, I think the fixing is he's doing what basically no one else can, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, not in a bad way, just neutral. But like his resolution is, I have this really expensive thing that I can do for you that
Yeah.
literally no other therapist can because no one else has that kind of money.
Yeah. Oh, I have these people waiting to take you to this rehab and wherever, and it's $50,000 an hour, but because I'm Dr. Phil, I can do that. Yes, like some of the techniques that he used, I think are good. I haven't watched in a while, so this is more like when he first started. Um, but I do like, but the whole show is based on kind of like his trial science and
Hmm.
it's interesting from a psychological perspective. I like trial stuff and law stuff. I actually wanted to coming out of high school. I was like, oh, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I just like getting.
Maybe I should get my girlfriend on this because she's becoming a lawyer.
She can come on, but she's just gonna make me look bad too. You're doing that. You're good enough yourself. Um. Oh, so you think it's okay? what do you think they're going to head? Because I've listened to a podcast and they were saying that one of the problems with Marvel is that they don't have a clear like leader.
Right. It sounds like the thing that Star Wars had.
Like, but remember, same shit, different toilet, because you're talking about it's both Disney.
Right. It goes back to this idea of, you know, there's not a clear direction. There's not a clear plan. It's just like, you know, hey, we'll put this out and we know these idiots are going to pay money for it. So, you know, let's go, let's get this cash cow.
Yeah. And I think the first, and I don't know, I know that, not Bob Iger, the other guy Chapek was in charge at Disney before, like during like phases 4 and the layoff of 5, which is interesting because you saw a change in direction. I think Feige was a little bit more hands off, but I think that Feige being more involved is going to stabilize it a little bit. But my question is it a good thing or a bad thing that Feige has been so involved?
I mean, I think it might be a good thing because wasn't he involved during the first phases?
Yeah, he was very involved in the first phase.
So why? Yeah, so I mean, if he made stuff work when he was involved in phases 1 through 4, which everyone loved, you know, having the same guy involved again, you know, unless I'm wrong, you know, it would be like, okay, doing more of what works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but the premise that was posed was, is he stagnating Marvel because it's just his brain? Tough question.
I don't think it's a bad idea that he's involved. I think it's a bad idea if it's basically just him. You need to have like more brains, you know, looking at this so you can get more ideas. If you just have one brain, you only have one set of ideas basically.
Right. I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean that's why you know Dr. House had a team of doctors. Even though he was the smartest person there, you still need to bounce it off people.
Oh, that's a good question. I love House. He's out of his damn mind.
Favorite show.
Did they keep him because they could semi-control him, or did they keep him because he was the best at what he did?
They kept him because he was the best at what he did. That's why. Because, you know, the only reason he could do what he did is because he solved the cases literally no one else could. And especially if you're talking to people like Cuddy or Wilson, who, you know, the whole thing of the show was that, you know, they're the people who have the morals while House doesn't. So like they're like, listen, we have these patients, they're coming to us. We have this reputation of saving people. If we lose the person who is no longer saving people, that's gonna look bad on us. And we want to keep getting people to come, especially, you know, from Cuddy's angle, because we want the money. We're a teaching hospital. So we want to have the funds to teach those new doctors. So yeah, 100% is because he could do what he did. And because he was the brilliant and the best and all of that.
Did they cut their nose despite their face because they allowed him to they allowed him to be a functional addict?
They cut their nose despite their face. In terms of medicine, I would say no. In terms of their personal relationships with him, yes.
Okay.
Because I think if there wasn't like, you know, oh, he got with Cuddy and then she broke up with him because he took Vicodin and so he got pissed off and he drove his car into her house, or, you know, with Wilson, you know, the whole cancer thing. Like, I think if like you took that away and you just had him as a doctor, no, they wouldn't be cutting their nose despite their face. They'd be, you know, helping themselves, even though, yes, they're dealing with all the shit, you know, the sexist, racist comments he makes, the crimes he commits. But at the end of the day, he's saving the doctor, saving the patient. And like, does that make it right? No, but that's why they kept him, because he could do what no one else can.
All right, back to DC. What do you think of the state of? What do you think of the Gunverse? What do you think it's going to be like?
So I like it so far. Like, I saw the new Suicide Squad, and I kind of like it. It was a lot better than the first one. It was
better. Hot take.
Really?
I like the characters in the first one better. I like Will better. It just was amazing, but it's the same person. I think Will has a little bit more had a little bit more personality in it, where it just was kind of like one note. John Cena was great. Peacemaker was good. Harley's Harley. I mean,
I don't know. Like, I'll be honest, like literally the only character outside of Harley that was interesting in the first Suicide Squad was Deadshot.
yeah. Well, that's how they made it, though.
I know, but
Boomerang,
he's
Boomerang,
literally it.
and Waller.
Um, no, and I'll tell you why not. Because
Ooh.
Waller is. I'll tell you why. Because Waller is Waller. Waller is very easy to write. You just
Yeah.
take a person who is just Machiavellian to the extreme, that works in the government, and bam, you have Amanda Waller.
Mm. But it doesn't help that it's Viola Davis. Just saying.
I don't know her as an actress.
You don't know Viola Davis as an actress?
Not very well, no.
Really? Viola
Really?
Davis is like one of the goats.
She played Amanda Waller very well. I'll give her that.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't have, at least for me, she doesn't have the name power for me. Listen, she might be in something else I know. I just can't think of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the second Suicide Squad, it was so much better. I mean, it was a lot funnier, which I enjoyed, and the powers and people you had were much more interesting. And also, I much more liked. I think, was it Amazo? I forgot the name of the starfish. Is it Amazo?
You talking about Starro?
Starro, yes. I much liked Starro more than Enchantress.
Oh, Enchantress is terrible, but Starro was annoying.
But he was better than her.
Oh God. Oh my God. Okay. You're not wrong.
I know it's not saying much, but it's true.
You're not. You're correct. Okay.
Better, and also even the subplot with Harley was better because they didn't have Jared Leto.
Yeah, that's true. That's. I think Jared Leto redeemed himself a little bit in the Snyder Cut.
Okay, I thought you were about to say Morbius. I was like, no, you're not about to say that.
No, Morbius.
I think such. I mean, listen, the Snyder Cut made everything better. I mean, Justice League was not a great movie until you saw the Snyder Cut and was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that. But what I liked is that they toned down the nonsense, and he just acted.
Yeah.
Did you see all the little things, all the pretty little things?
I can't say that I have now.
Oh, it's with Denzel. I was gonna say if he would have played the Joker more like that, it would have been interesting. He plays a killer, and then it's like he's more calculated. He's more reserved. Like in Suicide Squad, the first one, Leto was just, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be method and I'm gonna be over the top, and it's just like you're doing too.
There are different iterations of the Joker. Like, do you know the story with the Joker recently? Like, you know how there's more than one, that whole storyline?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think he was just one of those three Jokers.
The bad one, the badly acted one.
Fair enough, but he was one of those. You know, there was the Gold Age, the Silver Age, and the Bronze Age Joker, and he, I think, might have been like the Silver Age Joker. No, or I forget which one he is, but he was one of those Jokers. He just wasn't Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, the three Joker storyline. I've seen it. It's interesting. I haven't read it in a while.
I think it's interesting. I kind of like the idea.
Yeah. So now, are you big into movies? What kind of movies do you like?
I do like movies. I mean, I do like movies. When I was in college, I made an attempt to watch every movie on IMDb Top 150. Wasn't able to, but I watched a lot of them. So there's a lot of really good movies. I would say maybe one of my, if not my favorite movie, might be The Prestige.
Oh, I never saw that. I haven't seen any of Christopher Nolan's movies because I'm just so not interested in him. I have seen the Dark Knight series. I've seen Memento. I haven't seen The Prestige. I haven't seen Interstellar. I haven't seen what's the one where they're floating around and the world's moving and all that stuff.
Isn't that Interstellar?
No, there's another one. Interstellar. There's another one.
I'm blanking.
Inception.
Inception, yes, thank you. That was an amazing movie. Oh my God, he takes philosophy and turns them into movies, like the same way that like The Matrix did, and that is amazing. I love it.
Yes. What'd you think of the fourth Matrix?
And again, trying to capture lightning in the bottle, it doesn't work. I mean, I get it. You're trying to, but you're not the same directors that you were. Like, you're not Christopher Nolan, and I mean, aside from Christopher Nolan, you're also not, what's his name? Quentin Tarantino, another director I fucking
Yeah.
love. I love Tarantino's movies. Oh my god.
The Wachowskis, they have been through a lot.
I know. They make great movies, or they've made great movies.
And they've also, both of them had sex changes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they were brothers. Now they're sisters.
I had no idea.
And only one sister came back.
Wait, what do you mean came back? Oh, detransition?
To direct the movie. To direct Matrix 4.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's fun fact. Okay. Let's see. I think we're down to the last question, sir.
Sure.
I sort of know the answer though. If you could be any superhero or supervillain, who would you be and why?
I mean, I would love to be Spider-Man because that'd be amazing. Because he has an iron will like few others, and he has the spider sense, and that I love it. I love the spider sense.
What power would you want? What superpower would you want?
I mean, outside of the spider sense?
Just in general, yeah. Oh, you said spider sense.
Well, I mean, if not the spider sense, then maybe teleportation, like Nightcrawler.
You said both of those. I would want to be telekinetic. Professor X's powers, I think, would be crazy.
He's telepathic, not telekinetic. Is he telekinetic? Telepathic. Okay. Bro, if we were telepathic, we would be the best in the business.
I know what you're gonna say.
I know exactly what you're feeling. I know why you're feeling it. You think I can help you get better in 3 sessions, almost guaranteed.
Yep. So, sir, could you please talk about your website, talk about some stuff people want to reach out to you? It's your chance. I call it the plug your shit section.
Sure. So I am on Instagram and I'm on TikTok. You can find me either at Alchemy Counseling or on TikTok, The Mental Health Alchemist. Actually, my website, alchemycounseling.com. If you are in the New York or Connecticut area and you're dealing with anxiety, depression, suicide, hit me up. Especially with suicide, that's my jam. I specialize in treating that. I'm one of the few clinicians in New York who specializes in treating suicide. Or so if you or somebody you know is dealing with that, send them my way. Yeah, that's pretty much all my shit.
I love it. Again, alchemycounselingnewyork.com. Reach out to my man. Therapy's the new thing, and it's good because you need to be able to help and reach out.
Yeah.
Mr. Davis, I appreciate you making time for me. It was a very interesting conversation. I think
a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me.
We talked more nerd stuff than we talked anything else.
I'm cool with that. I mean, listen, if you want to talk other stuff, have me again. We'll talk about that other stuff. I'm down.
Oh, you'll be back. Don't worry, sir. You'll be back. I have my other show where it's not an interview and you can just talk freely. I'm gonna need you to stay there. Don't.
Yes, sir.
While I close out the show. Abraham Lincoln said, "Folks are usually about as happy as they make their minds up to be." So, people, thank you for joining me on Everyday Experts. I am your host. Thank you, Mr. Davis. And we are going to say the bye-byes. I think next is... Hold on.